Every one of you is in for a treat today. I have a superhuman. This man, I've never seen energy like this. We met at Secret Knock and we became fast friends. And this is the guy behind the guy. And you're going to hear more about this, but how can biohacking, personal flights, God, family, all those things, how can they all coexist in the same place? You're about to find out. And you're going to get to spend some time. Well, I get to spend some time. You get to share it with me, with one of the most amazing superhumans. And honestly, for me, probably one of the most positive guys that I've ever met. Like when I first talked to him and I texted him, I could feel his energy through his text. And I wanted to see, like, when I first met him, because there's times where you meet people and they come to you with the energy and you think, oh, is this presentation? Is this what they do? And what I noticed over time was that it wasn't what he does, it's who he is. And we had some challenges scheduling the podcast. There was no challenge for him. He had scheduled, and then I said, hey, we need to reschedule. He scheduled again, we need to reschedule. And every aspect of his being was in line with all the things that he said. So I can't wait to be able to spend some time with this young man that you are going to absolutely fall in love with, and that you're going to want more of. Everybody who spends time with him just wants more and more and more and more. It's my honor and pleasure to bring you Brett Harmeling, and I tell you, he is unbelievable. So buckle your seatbelt, and let's get this party started.
Yes, it's fun.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I climb. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never know, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Brett. Welcome to the show, man.
Man, your hype video got me all hyped up.
I don't know if I could get you hyped up, man. We were talking, and right before we started recording, I was like, man, we need to start recording now, because some of the things that you were talking about was incredible. Tell me how biohacking, personal flights, like personal aircraft, and God and family, how can all these things mix?
Well, it's simple, right? If you closed your eyes and said, man, if I could travel anywhere and not feel the impacts and burdens of travel, would you do it? Would you do it more? Where would you go? What would life look like? What would life feel like? And you could do it with your family and there'd be no friction. We would live in a very different reality. Every single person, whether you're traveling weekly, daily, monthly, yearly, like part of my mission in dismantling the hub and spoke system in America, and also kind of being on this global mission to really democratize access to private aviation, is to just help people get to where they want to go faster, waste less time doing things that, like think about back in the day, you used to have a fax machine, you used to have a phone line, you used to have all these things, and now we have one device, right? And so what if we can just remove all the burdens of travel and make it simple? Like we can all be more connected, but we also can have more space technically, and we don't have to live on top of each other. Who doesn't want that?
Tell me about these, because we started talking about it at Secret Knock. It's Verijet. That's the company that we're speaking of. Right now, you're having to move the vessels out of Florida because of the hurricane stuff. So, we're right. Praying for a safe arrival that way. What is different here? Because you've seen things come on the market. You've seen things come to the place. But as we started to sit down, I was like, man, it makes so much sense, because if I could have time back with my family, it would make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, so what we're doing is actually we're activating a 30-year-old plan that NASA put in place called SATS, which stands for Small Aircraft Transportation System. And so what's so special about SATS is like they already recognized a long time ago that this hub and spoke system in America was not really going to be efficient. Like, just think about it. It doesn't even make sense. Drive an hour to a major hub, go through an hour of TSA, security lines, et cetera, and then maybe your flight will be on time, right? And so like this model is not really efficient and effective. And we're starting to realize that with cybersecurity threats and just a lot of different variables. And so we took technology that's proprietary to us that runs other airlines as well. That's infused with artificial intelligence. So that allows us to have less people and more operational flow and less friction on the back end. And then we paired it with the world's most efficient, safest jet. And so those two things put together creates the world's only carbon neutral airline that's hyper efficient and hyper safe. So safe that if like something happened to the pilot, you could hit an auto land button and the aircraft would find the nearest airport and land itself. Let's say things got real bad. There's also a manual pull parachute for the entire aircraft. And so the chance of, dying or having a serious accident on our aircraft is almost zero. It's not zero. You can't guarantee anything in life, but it's very small, right? And so these jets, they also, from an efficiency standpoint, they're made out of carbon fiber. And so all other airlines are made out of aluminum, which metal degrades way faster than carbon fiber. And so when you're in the fuselage, it feels very free and open. It's called a vision jet for a reason, because you can see so much. Has active turbulence suppression, so it's very stable, feels safe. And then the engine, you'll notice, is positioned behind the fuselage, so it removes pretty much all chances of bird ingestion, which is like the number one reason private planes go down, honestly. So you have all these variables, you put them together, and now we're just building out the network. And so in America, we've kind of like earmarked that around 800 jets will be a really good number. Just think Uber for the air, right? And as we have more jets, the more efficient the model gets, the cheaper the price gets.
So that's been let's talk about that, because the pricing model has been the biggest challenge as far as private aviation. My daughter doesn't think so, because my daughter, since she was like 5, has driven by the small airplanes, is what she calls them, and says, "Daddy, why don't we fly on the small airplanes?" And because she didn't understand the economics part of it, but help us to understand that part of it, and how do we breach that? Because that's been the barrier for most people.
Yeah. So, our pricing right now, as it states, first of all, we can't even meet the demand that we're being faced with, which is a very good problem for a business to have, but it's also put us in a tough position. And so we're in this space right now of raising capital to get more jets so we can meet this demand, because it's right now, it's just $4,200 per hour for the entire aircraft. So think Southwest business model, right? It used to be really simple. It's gotten more complicated. They're facing challenges now, but it's literally arguably the most successful airline ever built. And because they just made flying simple, right? And who doesn't want that? And so we're doing that in the private aviation sector, where we're flying, that's for the entire aircraft, by the way. So 4 adults, 2 kids. Most of our clients actually bring dogs. So it's usually like a couple and their dogs, for instance. Yeah, this is what our aircrafts look like.
I wanted to show the people what it actually is, because when you were talking about it, and then I showed the like you showed me the picture, when you were talking about it, I was like, am I flying with Snoopy? You know what I'm saying? Like, am I the Red Baron? But these aircrafts are unreal.
Correct. Yep. And they land, they only need 4,000 feet of runway to land. So that gives us access to 5,000 airports in America. And really, this model is really good in Europe because of noise requirements. We're 50. The joke is we opened for a Blue Angels air show one time, but our jets are literally so quiet. Nobody was like, knew we were even opening the show. And so we never got to do it again. But that's cool, because like Santa Monica Airport, for instance, which many people are familiar with, they're like trying to close it down because of the noise pollution. And so we're 50 decibels below level 4 noise requirements by the FAA. So people love our airline. And, when these climate activists are like chaining themselves to aircrafts at like, these summits and things, people like don't mess with our aircraft because we only burn 40 to 80 gallons in fuel per hour. So that's remarkable.
So another thing that was interesting too, as you were talking about it, was this is being used a lot, like a lot of the flights right now, or for the organ transplants and things like that. Am I correct?
So if you're going to do good in the world, you might as well do well, right? And so we're flying people during the day and then organs at night. And so we've activated some pretty powerful contracts with companies that pair people with organs, like life-saving sort of things. And I'm so proud to be able to say that we're doing it for like about 1/3 of the cost of other airlines. And so I mean, who doesn't want that, right? And so because we can land closer to where these people that need the organs are, it's like saving lives. We're going to be able to save a lot more lives. And so that's really got me fired up about this project more than anything, honestly.
So what do you see as the future holds, as the money raises, everything like that, more aircrafts? Does this become a membership model? Do I am I a member with my family, or do I just call it like Uber and say, hey, I need a flight, and I'm able to take my family then?
So we'll start off, right, depending on the market. Like, for instance, I live in Houston, and I have a vested interest in building out. Yeah, no, go Oilers, right? I'm a Packers fan, so that one was for Kelly.
Okay.
But just to be clear, but the Texas Triangle is some of the most flown private because they're like just an awkward distance away, and so activating that market may look a little bit different than other markets, just because we might sell by the seat, for instance. But to answer your question, right now you can book a flight and get an answer within 200 milliseconds. So unlike most, yeah, right. So unlike most private aviation, you're waiting like sometimes 1 to 2 weeks to get an answer. Well, that doesn't really work when you want on-demand travel. And so as you can see, as we scale and as we build this model out, it gets easier and easier actually for us. And we have something that's a little bit different, Kelly. We have what's called an airline operator certificate. And so we're held by the same regulations as like United, Southwest, et cetera. And so we're playing with the big boys, and it's a hard line to walk, but we want to do what's right for our clients. And that involves safety, that involves all those components. And so we're playing the game to stay and to make a meaningful impact on humanity when it comes to traveling.
So when you go up against, this is the part that I'm very interested in too, is because when you have an idea like what you have and you start to gain inertia, and then you come up against the big boys, a lot of times those companies or ideas get squashed or shelved because the big boys have the ability to be able to do that. How do you circumvent that from happening?
So I say you can't compete with us because we want you to win too. So, and I'd say that in every business and everything that I do, because I'm not doing what I'm doing to try to make your life worse. And nor should anybody. Like, if you're a realtor, you should learn how to collaborate and work with other realtors to create value in your area, versus them being like, oh, like there's no energy that works, that creates abundance, that's like below the level of gratitude, which is 540 hertz, right? And you'll hear me talking like frequencies and codes a lot, because I believe that the answers to a lot of our problems are just like right out there in nature. Like, they're right there and they're for us to grab. And so, I don't get nervous, because I know that if we get taken out or like bought or whatever is supposed to happen will happen. I just know that we have such a good concept and idea that we literally are going to change the way that people travel. Because think about it, like before Elon started doing the rocket things, like, and doing Starlink, none of that, all that was crazy and impossible. And no, like, what do you mean? And now, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the time lapse of the amount of Starlinks that are around our Earth, but it's unbelievable.
So as you're talking about that and wanting other people to win and being okay with other people winning, which is not a normal concept, and I want to congratulate you on that, and it's incredible. Let's go into the part of the biohacking, because this part is something that's hot. It's hot off the press, like, and also too, I think maybe it's not hot for everybody, but especially coming up on 50 years old. I told you I want the program to be able to have the abs. I call up Brett. Hey, Brett, I need the abs. I need to feel good. I need to love my kids. I need to be a better dad. Hook a brother up. How does this biohacking part, I mean, how'd you get into it, and how much impact can it have truly?
It's pretty near and dear to my heart. It's an intimate thing to talk about, because without getting radically serious and taking 100% responsibility for my own health, I don't think I'd be in any of the spaces or places that I'm in today. I had significant injuries playing sports. One of them was a traumatic brain injury, which is just kind of overlooked. And they just put me on medications, antidepressants, Adderall. And truthfully, this girl asked to buy my medicine in college, but I grew up on a farm, so I didn't know I was taking high performance drugs, methamphetamines, essentially. And so it blew my mind that she wanted to buy it for me. And that was the day that I stopped, because I went back to my dorm. I went gung ho on the research. I went down the rabbit hole, and I learned I learned the implications and the effects of taking something like that long term on the body. And so that also came with a consequence, right? I went dark for 2 years, gained a bunch of weight, brain fog, felt really special, felt disconnected from reality. I had to like literally rebuild the foundation and fabric of who Brett Harmeling was. So like, that's why I say I'm superhuman, because I was in like the pits of hell. I literally was, somewhat suicidal. I don't think I would have had it in me to take my life, but I felt no purpose, no energy, no drive. I was just totally fine being like by myself. And I thought it was gonna just be like that. And I just had this wake up call and this experience with red lights. And I use red lights pretty much everywhere that I go, like all the time. Like just because what they do is they send signals to your body and your system to do what it's designed to do naturally. And so these lights helped me heal my brain on an intramuscular level. And to those that don't know about red light therapy, like there's many different kinds out there. And I just think the whole world about biohacking is being radically curious about the things that you put in you and on you so that you can maximize the life around you.
Mm. Now with the lights, is there a certain frequency? Is there, the cool thing was when we were talking earlier and we were talking a little bit about Happy Life Labs, you were just talking about there, it's such a crowded space, a loud space, and literally you could turn on your device, which all of us do, and we hear something that will contradict the last thing that we heard every single time we jump on, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
you just need to do keto and your life will be good and your wife will love you more. You know what? Keto is not the way to go. If you want to burn fat, do a lot of cardio. If you want to, if you do a lot of cardio, you'll actually get fatter. And what I loved about what you were talking about is with all that noise, a person can come to you and you can help them to understand the best practices and have it there in an instant.
That's right. So just think like Happy Life Labs was just designed to kind of weed through all the BS out there, all the saturation, and say, here's the world's best products. I'm not expecting you to buy any of them, but if you want to know about what they are, here they are. And by the way, all the companies in our portfolio go through extraordinary due diligence and a vetting process. And it's not like, hey, send us a free thing and we'll put you on our page. No, like we oftentimes buy the products, we'll do due diligence on our own, test it, try it, use it in different use cases. Like we get real creative. We're not just getting products in and using people for their, because like I'm way more curious about the people behind the products than I'm actually about the products, because if they're not designed with intention and quality and like they're with purpose, for purpose, I just think like the benefit, the health benefit at the end of that offering is limited. And so I like to like bring limitless things into people's lives. And so I often tell people like Brett, how do you work? I work with like top performance athletes and professionals and entrepreneurs who like think they're at the top of their game. And then I meet them and then I'm like a Sherpa and I teach them at the summit is like, they haven't even gotten to the summit yet. Right.
Well, it's amazing too, because I know you don't talk about them on purpose, but what I want you to know, if you are listening, Brett works with some of the top people in the world. And the people that he's connected with that he doesn't talk about. And I love this part, and I want to know more about it, not more about the names of it, but most people don't have that type of respect. What they do is we all are at the place or the conference that a guy grabs his phone, doesn't know the dude, and just wants a selfie, doesn't want to get to know the person, just wants a selfie so they can have third-party credibility. But you're on the opposite side. You almost shield yourself from any third-party credibility because the people who know actually know. Where did you learn that concept?
I learned how to, when I started bringing, like, how do you say this? When I made the transition of focusing on significance instead of success in my life, like I was focused on building wealth and like accumulating things and like properties and things like that, I realized like the energetic shift that happens when you focus on being a resource and a conduit of energy. And so the doing self-work and like leadership mastery from the inside out is a journey and it's a process. And so we as superhumans are innately intelligent and literally cannot, like, it's impossible for ourselves to lie to ourselves, right, about something. And so I say all that because, when you're in a situation when someone is either an energy taker or an energy giver, right? And so sometimes you got to feel it out, but typically we have this biofield, and your heart resonance is 6 meters, so like 3 feet in every direction. You can feel the energy of people and things around you, whether or not you just have to be willing enough, grounded enough, and centered enough to feel that energy. And when you can feel that energy, it's pretty straightforward whether or not that person belongs in your life or not. And you don't, like, my goal is always to figure out the why. Like, why did Kelly and I get to come into connection together at Secret Knock, which is an incredible conference that I spoke at earlier this year that he helps lead with Greg Reed. And why did we meet? And it's like, here we are now, but like, what's possible from this new activation? Because I look at these simple give backs as empire expanders, where we're able to like open the aperture of possibility to things that we don't even know about. It way beyond aviation, way beyond wellness. Like, I'm talking about, we're here to walk each other home. And so we all have a unique set of gifts and tools. And I always say, like, the world needs what you've got. And if you don't show up the best version of yourself every day, you're like doing those people that believe in you a disservice. And that's what keeps me going forward. It's like, the person who let me down the most is my own expectations. Nobody, like, so I'm at that point where nobody can hurt me. Like, I don't care. I care, but I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a shield, and I get to choose who I let into my biofield.
So what would be the first step on, because this is where we have challenges a lot. One of my friends, his name is Sean Finnegan. He says that the start always stops you, right? And where does a person start with this? If let's go back to it where a person walks up to you and you feel maybe it's a negative energy, whatever it is. Now, that person can shift that over time, but where would they start to shift that? Would it be the red light stuff? Would it be eating? What's the beginning?
I love that question, because just because people see me as this advanced biohacker and, quantum energy expert and all this, it's like, actually the answers are like way simpler. And so the answers actually are, for most people, is getting down regulated and getting less connected to all the stuff that doesn't matter and more connected to source. And when I say source, I mean like the earth and nature and things that fill your heart up and your soul up with goodness. Because the truth is if you just spend 90 days and just change some simple things in your life, you can become a totally different human. And a lot of the problems that you think that you have now will go away. But guess what? You'll get presented with bigger problems because you'll be an evolved human. So never expect like, oh, I did all this work, life's going to be easy now. No, the challenges will just get harder, but you'll have better tools and wisdom to handle those challenges. And so it's like this everlasting journey of love and endearment. And you have to fall in love. You like find joy in the journey, because like, I believe like God puts us in places and into people's lives for a reason. And I remove the attachment to why and for how long. Because, I used to get broken by relationships that didn't last. And I had an unhealthy attachment with people, because I'm obsessed with people. I love people. And I love helping people, and I love connecting people. It's like the thing that lights me up more than any red light or any cool biotech is like connecting good people, so that like 1 + 1 = 3. So we can solve bigger problems.
So does a person start with the physical part of it? Do they start with the heart part of it? Do they start with the mind? Where's the beginning? Because there's times where, again, like if we look at the noisy world, there's going to be a person who says, actionable items. These are the things that you have to do. And then ultimately you'll start to almost trick your brain, right? I watch those people that start with their actions, hope it gets the brain, and hope at some point it gets to the heart. I watch those people just get to a point and they're like, I have it all, but my heart is gaping, right? And then I see the other side where, where would a person start? Would they start with their heart, their mind, or their hands?
You can't, never start with the hands, right? Because the hands are like literally for serving, right? serving yourself and serving other people. And so I believe almost all things start with physicalness, which I know you don't want to hear because you don't like to like.
No, I'm just asking. That's why I'm
Yeah,
here.
because I believe like physicalness leads to mindfulness, meaning like I don't mean like you need to go run a marathon, but I believe when you put your body into motion, well, literally this is actually true. So when you put your body into motion, energy in motion equals emotion. So if you want to change your physiological state or the energetic state of your body, you put yourself into motion, right? Whether that's a simple walk, whether that's running, whether that's whatever your thing is, like, don't let people tell you what's right for you because you know, right? So trust what you feel, not what you hear. It's really important to get hyper clear. If I ask people, Kelly, what about you is not going to change for the next 10 years?
Man, that's a tough one, man.
And what it is that's just that's an indicator of I need to get really clear on what my core values are. Like the things like no matter how much money I make or lose, I will never deviate from my core values. And if they change, that's fine, but it has to be with intention. Like families used to have crests. I've really been really into this lately because my heritage is really rich. They used to have crests and be very proud of their last name. And like, it was a big deal to be a part of a family. And in today's world, it's like hard to have a family. And so there's like these aha moments of brokenness that are like success leaves clues. And like, as humans, we have to study patterns and things that work. And so what worked in the past is even if you didn't agree with your family's values, you're still aligned with your family. You're still like, okay, Dad, I'm going forward with you no matter what, even if I don't like it. Because as we evolve as humans, like you create your own destiny and you become the hero of your own story. And if you don't feel that sense of empowerment or passion, like it's time to pick something different because the whole point of life is to live it, right? And energy creates energy. That's why I love like the concept of movement. And like I said, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be challenging. My modality of movement is yoga and rucking, which is walking with weight. I solve the biggest problems when I'm doing these things. If I ever feel stuck, I do that. I move and shift in that space.
So a person that's stuck, like say a person that's, because if you sit on the couch for a long time, you'll have the desire to sit on the couch more, right? I mean, it kind of happens, especially on Sunday when I'm watching the Titans get whooped by everybody. But we just started our run. We're on a one game winning streak right now, on the way to a 14-3 record. But that's just me. Yeah. But what does a person do there? Like they're in that place, they're having a really tough time. Moving is tough for them. What's the first step that can kind of break that cycle for them?
When I felt most stuck, the first thing that I found was, and I literally, it's community. It's community. You gotta put your, like, okay, let's say you're an addict. If you find AA or someone that brings you into that space, it could save your life. For example, if you're lost and you don't have God and you go to Forrest Frank concert, you're like, wow, these people, like, they're happy and their energy's lit up. This is legit. Maybe I should be curious about who God is, And so it's these simple activations, right? You got to be willing to get uncomfortable. Any type of motion is do something that makes you uncomfortable. Like, even like as we get better, it's like, what are you going to do today? That's how are you going to get told no today, or how are you going to fail today? Every single day I make myself do one of the two. So like I have a huge ask, or I'm going to do something that I'm going to that's going to push my limits and I likely fail at doing.
What's scaring you right now? Like, because you're, we talked about it from the beginning. You're a superhuman. We're talking about aviation. We're talking about some of the top biohacking practices, in the world. What's freaking you out right now?
Well, like personally, like the fact that my wife could be having a baby at this moment.
Man, we need to cut this interview short then.
It's my son's birthday today. My wife's super pregnant. She's about to pop baby boy number 2. We're doing a natural home birth. But yeah, like I said, we're always going to have, you can call them problems, but I just look at things. I look at them as challenges, and I look at like jobs as projects. So I'm not like stuck or anchored into the ideology that it's permanent, because when I let go of that, then they become fun again, right? Then those things that you have to do, like they just they move you forward, because decisions, like, truthfully, like, get us started, but it's the discipline that moves us forward and keeps us going. And so you
What
got
do
to
you,
have discipline.
Brett, what do you wish that people knew about biohacking? Because even the word itself freaks some people out. But when you break it down and you make things so simple, like digestible, when we were talking before we started recording, like as you were talking, I was like, number one, we need to be recording. But number two, like, I just want more. Like, I want my body. I mean, my mom passed away at 62. My dad at 68. I'm 50. That means based off my mom's life, I got 12 years left. That means based off my dad's life, I got 18 years left. I don't want to do that. I'd like to be able to hang around and be with my kids a lot longer.
Yeah.
So what do you wish that people knew about biohacking that would move things forward at light speed?
It's the constant awareness of the things that you put in or on you, or that are around you in your everyday environment. If you look around, we spend way too much time inside these offices and in these spaces that are 75% more toxic than being outside. And some of us are required to do it. And so simple things like wearing glasses that protect your brain from being oversaturated with, highly intensified LED lights from computer screens, right? There's this, like, people laugh about it and think it's like a joke, but like there's actual programming that like are in screen technology that make you addicted to want more of it. And so it's really important to just be super curious about what things you're like, and like, I'm obsessed with life. Like, I don't think I'll ever give up queso and drinking a beer here and there, right? It's like, it's not about being perfect, because being perfect is like literally the lowest frequency, or like the most, like the worst thing any human can try to obtain, right? Is being perfect. It's a low energy way of living. And so it's just I believe in bio individuality. We're all different, but the closer we get to nature, the more we heal. So I can't tell you, Kelly, to do one thing that's going to work for me or someone else, because we live very different lives. We live in different areas of the world that like have that whole different frequencies and rhythms and patterns and people. And if you don't assimilate to those things, like, you're going to have a tough life. Like, I suffered from seasonal affective SADS, seasonal affective depression. Like, I didn't realize that I needed more sunlight until I got more sunlight. And then all of a sudden, like, I felt better. Every aspect of my life changed.
Well, do you think that has to do with environmental too? As far as, I mean, you grew up near, in Wisconsin, near. That's why you're a Green Bay Packers fan. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. We appreciate Lambeau. We still have room on the Titans side for another fan too, just in case. Just want to let you know.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's just like, what got you here won't get you there, right? All these, and it's simple. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. So these are like no kidding things, but like when you hear them, you're like, you're right. If I don't change anything about what I'm like, and it's not like, I'm not telling people to change because they're a bad person or they're doing it wrong. I'm inviting people to the table to say, have you thought about, the fact that it takes your body 2.5 years to digest a hyper processed seed oil, and what that could be doing, that inflammation could be doing on a molecular level to your body? And like, isn't it weird that you don't get sunburned if you don't eat hyper processed, seed oils, because your body's actually giving your skin the essential oils that it needs to be protected by the sun? Why doesn't the people that are supposed to protect us start teaching people about that?
So I know we don't. Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm writing this book. It's coming out soon. It's called Win from Within.
Uh-huh.
And the first chapter is literally, it's called the hidden forces that are hijacking your health. Because the first thing about any change is understanding the simple truths. And they're not like biased. It's just, they're based off of data, right? Like, a lot of people have like artificial fragrances that they spray on them or that are in their homes. I don't know if you know anything about like that, but you're literally poisoning yourself. So you're poisoning your largest organ in your body and expecting your body to be in a good state. Doesn't make sense.
How can one, have a good fragrance then?
Use natural scents.
Is Dracar Noir a natural scent?
No idea.
Is Axe body spray? No,
Yeah,
that was.
no.
We're not going to get sponsored.
Yeah, like simple things like, I like Palo Santo, holy
Okay.
wood. Study this kind of stuff. Like if you chop this tree down, for instance, do you know about it? Or
No, I don't. Tell me.
yeah, like if you chop down a Palo Santo tree before it's done growing, it will not yield the smell that it has. It has to die naturally, and then it's harvested. So it's like this whole thing. It's a very spiritual thing, and the smell of it brings you back to the roots. Like when you smell white sage, if you've ever done like a been smudge, for instance, that is a Native American plant, that essentially reminded Native Americans like, hey, you're home. You can put down your warrior mask or your hunter mask. It's time to be a loving father, husband, community person. You don't have to kill anybody. You're home. It's safe, So using natural and simple things to help us remind us that like, hey, we are not in this earth. We are of this earth. We are products of this earth. And by dust we came, and by dust we shall return, no doubt.
What are the biggest myths when it comes to this part? Because people will say, again, when we go to biohacking or we go into, oh, this is going to be healthy for you, or this is going to be organic. What are some of the myths that people hear that they're believing that are literally leading them down the wrong road? I didn't know that about the fragrances. My son is 13 years old, huge into fragrance. I'm going to have a little talk with him today.
Yep, and there's tons of information and data out there, but just think like your skin. Like I know that's a big joke about microbiome, but it's really serious. Like your skin has a healthy bacteria on it, and if you put poison on your skin, your body's going to be like, whoa, we don't want that anywhere near. So it's going to take its resources that it needs to do its natural biological processes to help your skin, right? It just makes sense. Same thing with your tongue. Like if you don't keep your mouth clean, like how do you expect the inside of your body to be clean? Like if you don't have the microbiome, like the things that start the digestion process, and you're like, how do I do that? Well, simple tooth care, right? Tongue scraping is a huge thing that most people like don't do. That I'm like, I couldn't imagine my life without doing that. So like, and these are simple tools. And so the myths are coming is that someone's going to come save you, or that someone's going to take care of you. It's like most people are poisoning themselves with water and just, oh, it's just water, it's just water. Well, if you're drinking water that you don't know where it's from, or it's been in a plastic bottle, you don't know how many times it's been heated up and cooled down and where it's been, like, and you're putting that in your system. Think about that from a molecular level. Like that's why they're doing these studies, and they're finding like plastics, microplastics in like 98% of men's testicles. Why? The clothing that we wear, the water that we're drinking, there's plastic all around us. Plastic is not natural. And so even the things that you put on you, like the clothing, right? Be intentional. Like linen is the highest frequency of fabric out of any fabric in the world. The next is merino wool, right? Alpaca, lamb, etc. So you want to study these frequencies, and like when you start to change the things that you put in you or around you or on you, like your whole life begins to take little shifts. And that's why the fundamental concept is direction is more important than speed.
Wow. So how does a person find you? Because again, when I started with the show at the beginning and I'm talking about you, you're not the guy who's jumping up and down, taking a selfie with everybody. I'm working with this person. But if we were to, and I could tell you this, Brett, and I want people that are watching to watch Brett's face when I say this, if we were to list off the people that Brett works with, your mind, you would rewind this episode right away and start taking more notes than you should be taking right now. And by your face, when I say that, that I'm not hyping you. I'm not gassing you up. The smile that's on your face right now, Brett, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So how does a person get to work with a person like Brett?
I'm a steward of humanity and I love helping people. So I like one of the things that my CPA will say is like, Brett, you got to like stop giving like quite as much. Right. And so I'm like, but I just have this passion to give back because I've unlocked, I believe, the portal and the codes of how to take your life from average to magnificent. Right. And it starts from within, like, right. That's the name of my book, Win from Within. Like if your state isn't good in a good place, like how are you expect to handle bigger challenges or adversity in a way that's meaningful, right? And so the answer is like how I've gotten the access to the people that I'm working with is just by showing up, telling the truth, and then standing up for myself. It's just an energy thing. Like it's a non-negotiable the way that I take responsibility for the way that I show up in life. And I can choose to like even if I'm tired, right? You can be tired but happy. Most people think, oh, I'm tired. I got to be like, oh, I'm groggy. I'm angry. I'm sad. It's like, no, you can be tired and happy. Imagine that.
Well, Brett, I tell you, I want to thank you for your time. And also too, I know you got a little one on the way, and yeah, I think you need to be spending time with her as much as possible. And I want to thank you for your time, man. I started the podcast because of my two kids, and Maddox, who's 13, and McKenna, who's 15. And I didn't want them to worship idols per se. I wanted them to be inspired by iconic people who are doing iconic things in the world and realize that they're just human beings and that those things are possible. So what advice would you have for Maddox and McKenna? And if you could use both their names and call yourself Uncle Brett, it would be awesome.
Okay. Maddox and McKenna, coming straight to you from Uncle Brett here in Houston, Texas. I would say, as I tell my own children, like, live by the means of memento mori, which means remember you will die. So live every single day with gratitude, humility, and purpose, because every day is not promised to us. It's not guaranteed. And so whatever your calling is, go for it, do it big, take risks. And you have nothing to lose because you have an amazing Father that is shepherding you as you navigate through whatever life has to offer.
I learned a lesson one time from a friend of mine now. His name is Harlan. He was at the very beginning of digital marketing for attorneys. And he was on the forefront. Like when in 1979, he was running ads when no one in the law space was. A thing that he said to me is he said that you only get what you ask for. And so, Brett, what can you ask for today?
Well, you're giving me everything that I could have imagined. As I kind of come public with more of my work out of the private space, I think exposure to people like myself that are telling the truth, that have done the work, that are in the space for a genuine, authentic reason, just engaging with myself and the team and just getting radically curious. Like, how you can help me the most is by taking care of yourself. Like, Kelly, you take care of you for me, and I'll take care of me for you. Because I'm going to help Kelly, guys, mark my words, be a centenarian. Live to 100, baby.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. I would like, Brett, before I go to Sweet Baby Jesus, I would like to have a six-pack at some point, even if it's a three of, I could take 4, but if it was 6, I just want to look at it. It could go away after that, but I'm good. You know what I mean? Just one time.
Yeah.
Just one time, Brett. So
okay, let's make it happen.
Well, Brett, I seriously, man, I really appreciate your time, your energy, and who you are, man. And I look forward to forcing you to be my friend for the rest of your life. The thing that I'm going to ask you, if you're watching the podcast, just buy that bad boy right there. I'm holding up the Vibe. It's on Amazon. We got the link there. And also, too, Brett, I'm going to send this out to your lady because it's every woman needs a little bling in their life, and it's Bling Shine Serum. She will fall in love with this hair, skin, and nails. It has a moisture, strength, and shine, and she'll absolutely love it. Brett, you have been incredible. Can't wait to have you on again, man. You're my brother. I love you, and you're officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and
Thank you.
achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again.